November 8, 1942. Midnight. Richmond, California. The keel goes down for a new cargo ship. Standard design, 10,000 tons of steel. 4 days later, the ship slides into San Francisco Bay. Finished. Her name, the Robert E. Peary. Built in 4 days, 15 hours, and 29 minutes. Content reference. It was a publicity stunt, a record that would never be touched. But it proved something the world desperately needed to know. America could build faster than the enemy could sink. This is the story of how an outsider engineer named Henry Kaiser turned shipbuilding into mass production. And how ordinary Americans, many who'd never held a wrench, forged the fleet that won the war. The battlefield wasn't only overseas, it was here, in the shipyards. 1940, Britain is fighting alone. German U-boats hunt in wolf packs across the Atlantic. Every day merchant ships go down, faster than British yards can replace them. The math is brutal. Lose ships faster than you build them, you lose the war. President Roosevelt knows it. So does the newly formed U.S. Maritime Commission. They need ships, hundreds of them, and they need them now. But American shipyards are small, slow, artisan operations. A Liberty ship, a simple cargo hauler, 441 feet long, 7,200 tons dead weight, takes 8 months to build. Content reference. Cite their index one. 8 months per ship won't win a war. Henry J. Kaiser wasn't a shipbuilder. He was a dam builder. Roads, bridges, concrete and earth. He'd never built a ship in his life. But Kaiser had something the old shipyards didn't: speed. He'd finished the Hoover Dam ahead of schedule. Grand Coulee, the same. He understood mass production, assembly lines, and he wasn't bound by tradition. When the Maritime Commission opened bidding for emergency shipbuilding contracts in 1940, Kaiser raised his hand. The established yards laughed. Ships aren't dams. You can't pour a hull. Kaiser didn't care. He saw a problem and a solution the industry refused to see. Traditional shipbuilding was an art. Skilled riveters, one plate at a time, one ship start to finish in a single slip. Slow, expensive, beautiful. Kaiser's idea: treat a ship like a car, break it into sections, prefabricate them in warehouses, weld, don't rivet. Train thousands of unskilled workers to do one task perfectly. Then assemble the pieces like a jigsaw puzzle. The old guard hated it. Welding was newer, less proven. Prefab meant less craftsmanship. And hiring women and black workers, people the industry had always excluded, seemed reckless. But the Maritime Commission was desperate. They gave Kaiser a contract: Richmond, California, a sleepy town across the bay from San Francisco. 4 massive shipyards would rise from mudflats, the largest shipbuilding complex in history. Content reference Oisite, Ostbahn-Salz, Index 2. Kaiser had 18 months to prove he could do the impossible. He had never built a ship. Now he would build hundreds. The secret was simple. Don't build one ship. Build pieces. A Liberty ship got broken into 250 prefabricated sections. Content reference Oisite, their Index 3 bow, stern, midship blocks, engine rooms. Each section built separately on the ground by specialized teams. No more waiting for one step to finish before starting the next. Everything happened at once. In Warehouse A, workers built double-bottom sections. In Warehouse B, deck houses took shape. Electricians wired cabins before they ever touched water. Painters painted steel that hadn't yet become a ship. Then the cranes took over. Sections weighing 50 tons swung through the air and dropped into place. Welders swarmed. What used to take weeks now took days. Riveting was the old language of ships. 2 workers. One heats the rivet, tosses it. The other catches it in a bucket, hammers it through 2 steel plates, over and over. Thousands of rivets per ship. Slow, loud, labor-intensive. Welding changed everything. One person, one torch, fused 2 plates into one continuous piece. Faster, lighter, fewer workers needed. But there was a catch, and it would come back to haunt them. Riveted seams stopped cracks. Welding could let them run. In the rush to build, that risk got overlooked. Richmond had 24,000 people in 1940. By 1943, over $100,000, content reference visit. Index 4. They came from everywhere: Oklahoma Dust Bowls, southern farms, urban neighborhoods. Most had never seen a shipyard. Women made up a quarter of the workforce: welders, crane operators, electricians. Content reference. WWII site. Index 5. Rosie the Riveter wasn't propaganda. She was real, and she was building warships. Kaiser trained them in weeks, specialized jobs. You didn't need to know the whole ship, just your section, your weld, your task. It was radical. The craft unions hated it. But it worked. 10-week welding school, 6-week crane operation, then onto the floor. And Kaiser took care of them. Medical clinics, daycare for working mothers, housing, good wages. The company health plan he created, Kaiser Permanente, would outlast the ships. Content reference, WWII site. By mid-1942, Richmond was a city of steel. 4 yards, 7 ways, slipways where ships took shape. A ship launched every day, sometimes 2. Kaiser's yards weren't the only ones. Portland, Oregon, Vancouver, Washington. Across the Pacific Northwest, new yards copied the Kaiser model. Content reference, WWII site, Guanaskakuska, Index 7. The learning curve was staggering. First ships took 8 months. By 1943, the average was 6 weeks. Content reference, WWII site, Sarah, Index 8. But speed came with risk. November 1942. Kaiser wanted to show the world what American industry could do. The Robert E. Peary would be a demonstration. Pre-stage everything. Drill every move, assign triple crews. Midnight, November 8th, the keel drops. 4 days later, launch. 4 days, 15 hours, 29 minutes from keel to water. Content reference, WWII site. Anchor, Index 9. It was a stunt. The ship still needed outfitting, another 2 weeks for engines, armament, supplies. But the hull was done. The message landed. Newsreels played in theaters across America. Goebbels' propaganda ministry went silent. Then Portland tried to beat it. September 1942, the Joseph N. Teal. 10 days keel to launch. Content reference, WWII site, Tendera. Index 10. The records were never about normal production. They were proof. American shipyards could outpace any enemy. But speed had a cost. Winter, 1943. Reports started coming in, cracks, appearing suddenly in hulls. Some small, some catastrophic. The SS Schenectady, brand new, docked in calm water, split in half. Content reference, WWII site. Index 11, brittle fracture, cold water, welded seams, stress concentrators at hatch corners. The problem wasn't the ships. It was how fast they'd been built and how welding behaved under stress. Engineers scrambled. Reinforcements at hatch corners. Better steel specifications. Crack arresters. Riveted straps across welded seams. Content reference, WWII site. Vanstansai. Index 12. By 1944, the fixes were in. Most Liberty ships served without incident. Out of 2,110 ships built, fewer than 1,500 suffered serious structural failures. And only 3 broke apart completely. Content reference, WWII site. 13. The ships kept sailing. Speed meant risk, not just for ships, but for people. Shipyard accidents were common. Heavy steel, moving cranes, welding fires, falls. Kaiser's safety record was better than most. But workers still died. Dozens, maybe more. The newsreels showed smiling Rosies and record launches. They didn't show the 12-hour shifts, the injuries, the families who lost fathers and sons to industrial accidents. This was war production. There were costs, but the workers knew what they were building and why. By 1943, Liberty ships were everywhere. Atlantic convoys, Mediterranean supply runs. D-Day, hundreds of Liberty ships carried men and material to Normandy. Content reference, WWII 14, Index 14. They weren't glamorous. Sailors called them sea cows, slow, ugly. But they carried the goods. Tanks, trucks, food, fuel, aircraft, everything an army needs. 2007-10 Liberty ships. Content reference, WWII. Wakes an Exodus Index Win 15. Kaiser's yards alone built 490 vessels, 27% of the entire U.S. Maritime Commission output. Content reference, WWII. U.S. Index 16. They weren't perfect, but there were enough of them, and that's what mattered. August 1945. The war ends. The yards begin to close. Workers go home, back to farms, back to cities, back to lives that had been on hold. Richmond's population crashes. The ways fall silent. Henry Kaiser moves on. Aluminum, steel, cars. He'll try to build the Kaiser automobile. It won't last. But his health plan will. Content reference, WWII. Index 17. Kaiser Permanente, born in the shipyards, becomes one of America's largest healthcare systems. The ships themselves? Most are scrapped by the 1960s. A few survive as museums, floating ghosts. But the lessons remain. What Kaiser proved wasn't just about ships. It was about what happens when you throw out the rule book. When you ask, what if we rebuild the whole process? Prefabrication, modularity, specialized labor, rapid iteration. It's the logic of the assembly line, applied to something people said couldn't be mass-produced. Today's automakers use the same principles. So do modular housing companies, emergency hospitals during pandemics, prefab sections, fast assembly. The Kaiser method never went away. It just spread. And the people, the workers Kaiser trained, they proved something too. You didn't need a pedigree. You didn't need years of apprenticeship. You needed training, opportunity, and a reason to care. Women could weld as well as men. Black workers could operate cranes, manage teams, build ships. When the war ended, most were pushed out, back to traditional roles. The yards closed, the jobs disappeared. But the door had opened, and it wouldn't fully close again. The Liberty Ship program was a preview, a glimpse of what American industry could be if it actually used all of its people. It would take decades, civil rights, women's movements. But the shipyards had shown it was possible. Wars are won on battlefields, everyone knows that. But World War II was different. It was won in factories, shipyards, assembly lines. The Axis powers had skilled troops, brilliant generals, early advantages. But they couldn't match American production. Germany built submarines faster than anyone. But America built cargo ships even faster. That was the equation. That's what broke them. Henry Kaiser gets remembered. The records, the ships, the empire. But the real story is simpler. It's a farm kid from Oklahoma who learned to weld in 6 weeks and built ships that carried armies. It's a woman from Texas who'd never left her hometown, running a crane that lifted 50-ton hull sections. It's a black man from Louisiana, shut out of every skilled trade back home, becoming a foreman in a Richmond yard. They were told they couldn't do it. They did it anyway. In 4 years, they built 2,710 ships. They taught the world that speed and scale could be weapons, that ordinary people given a chance could do extraordinary things. The Liberty ships are mostly gone now, but what they proved, what the workers proved, remains. Production is power. Inclusion is strength. And when America decides to build something, really build it, there's no stopping it.